Okay, so I'm going to be doing a review of the new Vokey SM9 Wedges, which I just got access to in left hand. Initial impressions look-wise, they look great. Nice kind of cosmetic update to what was done last year. I think they're just a little bit kind of cleaner, a little bit sleeker looking on the back badging. I can still see that there's some tech in that back slot, kind of just on the back badging, which I'll show you here. So obviously it's not like this is just gone and eliminated what they did with SM8. I can kind of see that they're continuing along the same lines, but I just do think cosmetically they do look a little bit nicer from the back badge. Address, I mean, to be honest, Vokey wedges from address have always looked really, really good. I'm holding the 50 here. It's a great looking 50-degree wedge, bit more straight with the leading edge, not too rounded, which I like to see in this loft anyway. So what I want to do today is, I haven't found out too much about these on purpose. I've literally never struck a ball with them until I'm about to hit them on camera, doing both of those things on purpose so I can give you guys as raw a reaction as I can. I've played SM8s now for almost a full season, so I know them pretty well. I know my numbers pretty well, so I just kind of want to give you my organic reaction to these. We'll check out some numbers together and we'll go from there. Good for a shot, just a bit thin. Much better strike. That's flown the full distance. Still a nice soft feeling wedge, that's for sure. Good launch angle on that. Tons of spin, tons of spin. A really good strike on that one. So I'm seeing, 28 launch is great, keeping it well under 30, but still spinning it at 10,000. I mean, to be fair, these are brand new wedges. I took the plastic right off, but those are really, really good numbers to see that you can flight it with a lower launch angle, but a ton of spin. That just tells you that the wedge is doing what it's designed to do. I'm really liking this 50 so far. Yeah, and not too jumpy. Very consistent with the distance. Pretty good swing as well. Okay, so this one's a little thin. I'm curious what this is going to do. Yeah, it's fine. It's good to see the thin strikes are performing well. Launched it a bit lower, but it didn't go flying over the back of the green. That's a good strike there. Yeah, turned it over a bit, so it's a little longer, but that's just me getting the face a bit closed. So this is actually the average performance of the 50-degree wedge, as you can see here. So on average, we were launching it at 28, spinning it just over 10,000. As I mentioned before, those are really, really good numbers. Typically for a kind of a tour flighted wedge, a better player's wedge, you want to keep your launch angle well under 30, which we've done there. And you want to get as much spin on it as you can. We can always take spin off, we can always change golf balls, but the performance of this wedge is showing that it can really spin the golf ball quite nicely. Carry was pretty consistently around the 121 mark. We had a couple that went a little bit longer, but for the most part, that was just me drawing it. Pretty consistent shot dispersion, just a couple that leaked right, but those are entirely on me. And you can see that the spin generally stayed within a 500 RPM window and the launch stayed within about 1.5 degree window. All quite good. When it comes to the wedge itself, I think it feels like you'd expect from a Vokey, not overly soft or firm, just kind of a nice neutral solid feel. I was impressed with a couple of those thin strikes I hit. I expected them to be kind of disasters that kind of flew through the green, so that might be some of the technology working in here. As I said, I'm not going to get crazy into the weeds with this. I'm just more focused on the practical application of how these wedges are working. And in terms of a wedge that kind of lets you get away with a couple mishits here and there, I think that's quite impressive. Nice feel off that one. It's a little short. Yeah, good shot though. There's a slightly better strike on that one. That one pretty nice as well. Maybe a groove or so low, but yeah, really consistent yardages. No complaints there. That was me fanning it open a little bit. It's a bit short, but it's not a bad shot by any means. I pulled that slightly. That's done well though. Didn't go overly past the pin. I actually think that was the most solid one I hit so far with this. Just a shade short, but probably within 10, 12 feet. Averaging a ton of spin, 11,500 on, as I said, not a full ripped wedge. I could swing harder than that, not that you need to. Got right on the 90-yard carry, which I'm happy with. Launch angle is a little bit high, but that's more on me. I could probably mess with my ball position and flight that high lofted wedge a little bit better. My wedge technique can use a little bit of work. So, I mean, 30's fine. 30's not, there's nothing wrong with it. I would prefer to see it lower, but I'm not going to blame the wedge for that particular performance. Proximity to the hole averaged about 10 feet, which is nothing to be, upset about. And then if I look at, the dispersion circle is quite even, pretty small. Most of the shots landed within 3 yards of the 90-yard target. Spin was, like the 50 degree within 500, launched within 1.5 degrees, and ball speed pretty consistent. So I think what we're looking at with these is what you would expect from a Vokey wedge. They're performing really well. I think the miss hit performance is really quite good this year. I'm not sure if it's noticeably better than the last couple years, but I will say that I did not strike all those well. And to have an average of 10 feet from 90 yards, on the golf course, I'd be super happy with pretty much any of those shots. So what I want to do now is hit a few partial shots, probably about 55-yard shots with this 58 for me will be about the right yardage. That's a good one there. Felt nice as well. Just a bit long, but I'd be happy with it. It's pretty nice as well. That one felt really nice. That's a nice one too. Ooh. A little thin, but that actually had a lot of bite on it. We look at the average, so the average shot where we were trying to hit 55 yards, I was on average a little bit long, so let's call it a 60-yard shot. 8,400 spin is a lot of spin to get from that short of a shot. You guys can see how small of a motion I was making, not a ton of club head speed in that, but to still get that much spin is quite amazing. So yeah, similar story. So we kept the spin within 500 for the most part, the launch within 1.5 degrees. I'm pretty happy with those. The partial wedge is usually a 60-degree wedge for me, so I wasn't quite as good at controlling my distance, but from a numbers perspective, performance perspective, the wedges did a great job. Wouldn't have any concerns with them. The only other thing I'll mention is that my wedges in my bag are actually 2 degrees flat, so the lie angle's a bit flatter. These are standard just because they're demo wedges, so that can lead me to pull a couple and drop the spin and move the flight right a bit at times. So, these aren't my best performances just because I would prefer a flatter wedge, but, for a stock wedge, I think this thing did really, really well. Also in the lower lofted 50 degree, it's a great looking wedge. Numbers were great. Was really happy with my proximity to hole with that as well. So I would say if you're looking for wedges, SM9s are a great choice. They continue to make really nice updates every time they make a new kind of model. If you have SM8s, do you need to run out and get SM9s? Not necessarily. I think they'd still be a little bit of an upgrade, but maybe not a massive leap. If you're an SM7 or prior generation and your grooves are starting to get worn out, I would definitely go out and try these. And if you've never tried a Titleist wedge and you're worried that they're not forgiving or that you can't hit them, you're not good enough, I'd go give these a try. The miss hit performance really surprised me, especially on a lot of those thin strikes. I thought I was kind of screwed over the back of a green, and they hang on just fine and gave me a reasonable putt afterwards. So don't be afraid to try these out, even if you don't think you're a low handicap player. And that's it. That's Vokey SM9 wedges, guys. Let me know what your questions are. As I said, really impressed with these. I can see when my grooves start to go on the SM8s, probably these will be the ones that I upgrade to. Assuming that there's nothing else in the market when I'm ready to change, I'll also try some other brands just to be neutral, but I can definitely see having my eyes on these, maybe later this season. Thanks for watching.